What's up, and welcome to the Rival Fantasy Week 7 waivers episode. I'm your host, Neil Maligno, and the goal of this episode is to help you add the players you need to win big in Week 7. I keep these episodes quick hitting, but if you want longer or interactive content, subscribe to the channel, catch our weekly live episodes, including our Sunday Start City Advice stream that kicks off at 11:30 a.m. I like to hold myself accountable and transparent at all times, so I'll quickly recap last week's waiver suggestions and how they performed. Keep in mind that players available on waivers are very dependent on your league size and settings. In order for me to bring value to any and everybody watching, I cast a wide net. So my play recommendations vary from very likely available in many leagues to players who are typically only available in deeper leagues. Now let's jump into last week's players. If they are still available in your league, then these players are still waiver adds in my opinion. Gardner Minshew finished as quarterback 22 with 329 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Obviously, the interceptions killed him. Without those, he would have been closer to a top 10 quarterback in week 6. I also recommended Bryce Young at quarterback. In week 6, he was quarterback 16 with 217 passing yards and 1 touchdown. The Panthers offense is tough to get going. He had no interceptions, which was nice. He wasn't a league winner for you, but he wouldn't have killed you. Tajay Spears had a big 48-yard catch, no other targets, and only had 4 rushing attempts. Me and you can't be the only ones seeing it. The Titans have to know at this point that they have to use this playmaking running back more. Deonta Foreman was running back 29 in week 6 with 15 rushing attempts for 65 yards. No passing targets did not help him at all. Rough game for the Bears. Justin Fields left the game injured. They play the Raiders next week, but I do like Deonta Foreman still. I think it was a good start for him. We just have to see if he could build off of it. Now, Rashee Rice was wide receiver 34. He had 4 catches for 72 yards. It was a good game. It could have been a great game if he would have had a touchdown. We're talking about a touchdown that would have catapulted him from wide receiver 34 to the wide receiver 15 range in week 6. So he's getting there. They're using him more and more. He just has to get those touchdowns and have a complete game with yardage and touchdowns. Josh Downs had 8 targets, 5 receptions, 21 yards, and a touchdown. He ended up as wide receiver 30. Would have loved to see more yards from him in this game, but again, Downs being productive without them is also nice to see. Now at tight end, I recommended Jonnu Smith. He finished as tight end 4 with 4 receptions, 36 yards, and a touchdown. Funny enough, Kyle Pitts actually finished right above him as tight end 3. The Falcons offense has proved that they can have both these tight ends being productive 2 games in a row now, so I still feel good about Jonnu Smith. Dalton Schultz had 4 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. He finished week 6 as tight end 2, so I recommended tight end 4 and tight end 2 for the week. That's now 3 weeks in a row with 13 plus fantasy points for Dalton. And my flex waiver out of the week was KJ Osborne with Justin Jefferson out. He actually had the same amount of targets as Jordan Addison, had more yards than Addison. So we just need to get that touchdown out of him. It would have been a really, really good game. Fortunately, it wasn't, but we'll see, good weeks like this while Justin Jefferson is out. All right, now let's move on to week 7 waivers. Get your lineup right so we can get that big win in week 7. We'll start at quarterback. For me, it's the Raiders quarterback. My guess is that Aiden O'Connell will be starting for the Raiders this week. Jimmy G got hurt in week 6, went to the hospital, dodged a bullet, as Josh McDaniels worded it, but I doubt he plays versus the Bears. The team mentioned last time that O'Connell got the start if he can get the reps at practice for the week. If it's mid-game kind of thing, then Brian Hoyer's going to come in like we've seen in week 6. So I do believe they're going to go with O'Connell. For me, the Bears are a great matchup to see what O'Connell can do, as they are one of the worst passing defenses in the league. Also worth a mention that he'll be going up against fellow rookie Tyson Bagent, as Justin Fields is also going to be out. The Cardinals haven't announced when exactly Kyler Murray will be back, but with the way Dobbs has played and assuming Murray will do even better, he's definitely worth being rostered. And you do that now before you end up fighting with your whole league for him. The Cardinals offense has some decent weapons, and Murray will help lift everyone. Get him now and enjoy the fruits of your early waiver move later in the season. The Panthers didn't beat the Dolphins. It wasn't even close, but that doesn't mean there wasn't positive fantasy players in the game for Carolina. Chuba Hubbard had 88 yards and a touchdown with Miles Sanders out, which is better from a rushing perspective than any games that Sanders has had this season. Panthers are on bye this week, so add him now while you catch some of your league mates slipping. Whether Sanders is back or not, Hubbard has certainly played in a way that will be hard for the coaches to ignore moving forward and will no doubt increase his workload. Devin Singletary had less than 8 fantasy points in week 6, so you're probably thinking, well, Neil, why are we talking about him then? Well, when you consider the fact that Pierce has struggled this entire season and Singletary outplayed him in the Texan win versus Saints, you start to see how the coaches can lean more on Singletary moving forward. Like Hubbard, Singletary is on bye this week, so it's a perfect opportunity for you to add him while your league mates aren't looking far enough ahead like you are. If you've been following since before the season started, you know I was a fan of Singletary when he signed with the Texans, and I'm also just not a big believer in Pierce, so things are starting to come together as I expected. Curtis Samuel now has 3 games in a row with a touchdown, with 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. He's also scored 14 or more fantasy points in the last 3 games. So it's clear Eric Bieniemy is finding a way to make use of the talented playmaker. The Commanders face off versus the Giants in week 7. They're clearly no stranger to giving up big scores to opponents, wide receivers, and playmakers. It's a wild stat, but Samuels has more than double Jahan Dotson's fantasy points this season. In PPR, he's like 2 points behind McLaurin, and actually he's passed him in standard scoring. Samuel is no doubt a flex-worthy option at this point, no matter what your league type is, while understanding the risk that he has, of course, that he won't score a touchdown every week. The second wide receiver is more of a deeper league add in case you lose a player to injury, or you have some guys on bye week, but Rashid Shaheed is a great home run play if you're looking for a high risk reward type player. He's had catches of 40 yards or more 3 times this season, and they've also gotten him involved in the running game a few times. He's had a couple of touchdowns. I'm mentioning all this to get the point across that Shaheed is a playmaker. You know I love players who can take one play 40 yards for a score. If you're going into the week thinking that your opponent's really going to outscore you, or maybe it's after the Thursday game and you're falling behind early, he's the perfect player to have in your lineup over a safer player who says he's going to get you like 10 to 12 points, unlike Rashid, who has the ability to go off for 18 or 20 points. Michael Mayer is finally getting some action in the Raiders offense, and in a fantasy football landscape that could use some more good tight ends, I'm anxiously awaiting a monster game from him. In week 6, Mayer had 5 receptions for 75 yards, which put him like 4 points behind being the second best tight end of the week. There's no doubt the Raiders are making an effort to get Mayer more involved, so this trend of him seeing targets and a solid fantasy production is going to continue. He's a unique weapon in the offense, one that also has Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Jacoby Myers, so Mayer will have plenty of opportunities on a weekly basis. I repeat it every week, but the tight end position outside of your top tier guys leaves a lot to be desired. To give context, Ingram and Waller haven't even caught a touchdown yet this season, but Ingram is tight end 6 and Waller is tight end 11. Which brings me to Taysom Hill. The Saints quarterback slash tight end slash running back, whatever position you want to call him, Hill will gladly be it. Because of that, he increases his value as a tight end in fantasy football. Last week, he caught 7 receptions, he ran the ball once, he threw the ball once. In a position like tight end where playmakers are hard to come by, even a boom-bust candidate like Hill has value due to his versatility. He can technically score you a touchdown from 3 different positions. Between that and the fact that the Saints' other tight ends haven't really ran away with the job, makes me believe Hill will continue to see more targets. Hopefully. My flex waiver player of the week, which could be a wide receiver, running back, or tight end, is going to be Jameson Williams. When Jared Goff launched that deep ball to Williams and he brought it in for the 45-yard touchdown, you just knew Goff wouldn't forget it. Williams has a lot of things going for him now that he's back from suspension, including the fact that his quarterback was just reminded of how good he can be. He's part of an explosive offense where defenses are trying desperately to figure out how to slow down Amon-Ra St. Brown. And if he can get more targets and convert them, his ceiling is crazy high. We'll see if everything can come together for the former first-round pick, but he should be on your roster while we wait and find out. Now, if you want more fantasy football advice from Rival Fantasy Sports, subscribe to this channel now for new content, including our weekly Start Sit live stream every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. EST. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok at Rival Fantasy. You'll get the latest app updates, promos, fantasy football news, all of it you can find right there. And of course, go to rivalfantasy.com or download the Rival Fantasy Sports app. You can play season-long football there, as well as challenges and fantasy bingo. That's right, I said fantasy bingo. If you haven't heard of it, it's because you haven't downloaded the app. Get the app, sign up, make an account. If you use the link in the description, you'll actually get your first deposit matched up to $200 plus a $25 free voucher. You can't beat it. Join us there. Again, don't forget to hit subscribe, like this video. We appreciate your support. We're out.